You could say Jacob Knuth was born to play quarterback.
Ever since just starting playing football, I always felt like I was meant to be a quarterback.
When you imagine a star high school quarterback, you think of someone like Jacob Knuth. 6'4", strength to cut a ball through the toughest wind. Astute on and off the field. Runs a 4.6 40 and a smile that lights up a room. He loves everything about being a quarterback. The pressure, the leadership, the skill, and the repetition. But it takes more than nature to get to the level that he's at, and it will take even more work to get to the levels he aspires to.
Everyone has, like when they're little, just a dream of playing the NFL, and college is a step towards that, and just working my butt off every day just to make that goal become a reality.
Looking on the outside in, you might think Jacob is the opposite of today's coveted multi-sport athlete because he exclusively plays football. But he grew up loving all sports.
Yeah, I played football, basketball, and baseball, and I gave up basketball coming into high school.
As Jacob entered high school, he realized he wanted to focus on football.
To be as good as I wanted to be at baseball, I didn't have the time for that.
Jacob wanted to be a quarterback, and he would make that his singular focus. After his freshman year, he decided to attend what he called his first real football camp in Detroit, the Next Gen. After having success there, he got invited to a national camp, The Show. Then, the Elite 11 National Quarterback Competition. While at these big-time camps, he felt the need to prove himself again and again.
Being from South Dakota, it's not something you see very often, especially as a football player. You kind of overlooked a little bit, and you got to prove yourself that much more.
In the fall of his junior year, colleges started recognizing his talent. He soon got his first football offer from Northern State, and he was appreciative.
They're the first school to give me the chance to play football in college, which obviously I'm going to appreciate that.
Then the D1 offers started coming in.
John Sigelmeyer, he was the first Division I school to offer me, and that was honestly one of the most special offers just for me, being the first D1 school. They had all the coaches in the room, they all passed it around, and then they gave it to Coach Stig at the end, and that was just a special moment that I don't think I'll ever forget.
In January of 2021, big-time schools from across the country started to take notice.
I did a camp on New Year's in Florida, and that's when I ran like a 4.6 5.40 or something. That's when I really started getting into some heavy conversation. Like the day I got back, there were schools texting me like, can we talk? For a couple of weeks there, I was getting 4 or 5 calls a night from coaches, and it was special, but definitely stressful.
It was then that Jacob started to realize that his dream of playing in a big-time bowl game or against FBS competition wasn't too far off. It was the University of Minnesota and offensive coordinator Coach Mike Sanford and head coach PJ Fleck who impressed him the most.
The day before they offered me, I had it was supposed to be like a 30-minute Zoom conversation with their quarterback coach, Mike Sanford, and that actually went like 3.5 hours long.
On February 27th, 2021, Jacob Knuth verbally committed to play quarterback for the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
They were the first ones to trust me, the first Power 5 school to trust me, and that meant a lot to me, just knowing that I had proved myself to them and they had all their trust in me, so that was just special.
That trust paid off, and Jacob said he couldn't have done it without the support of his family. While his parents never pushed him, in fact, he had to push them sometimes to pursue his dreams, his family was always there to support him.
My grandparents, my aunts and uncles and everything, just the support I've had growing up has been awesome.
With the recruiting process out of the way, Jacob has started his senior year full throttle.
I would not like to be having to worry about that right now going into my senior season, so definitely just having that out of the way, it's a really good feeling.
He's grown up a lot since playing varsity ball at Harrisburg. He split time as the starter in his sophomore year and said that the competition has made him better. He finished his junior year leading the upstart Harrisburg Tigers all the way to the championship game. And this year, he doesn't want to finish second.
I don't plan on graduating without a state championship. That comes first.
And joined now by Jandy. And we hope everything works out. So I hope he stays healthy and everything. He can do his thing at Minnesota. But you think, and there's a theory, that Minnesota went after him big time because they missed out on Trey Lance, who's from Marshall, Minnesota, played at North Dakota State. Minnesota didn't go after him. What about this theory?
The Gophers have had, not a great history of recruiting area talent. And Jacob Knuth is, 10, 15 minutes away from Minnesota, but he kind of counts as area talent.
Right.
And I think the fan base would have loved to have Trey Lance. And I think right now, fresh off of him being a top 5 NFL pick, they'd make sure they don't want to miss on a big-time recruit from the area. And I think that has part of the experience of why they really want to get Jacob and make him a successful Golden Gopher.
And there are national rankings for quarterbacks, and Jacob's in the top 32, you said. There's not a Minnesota kid ahead of him, so he is big time, as you said, in this region.
He is big time, and I think he's going to be one of the top 30, 35 quarterbacks in the nation from this recruiting class. And I believe that he probably would have been even a little bit higher had he not been from South Dakota. He talked about that in the story of always kind of working against that South Dakota background and having to prove yourself over and over again. I think his talent would have put him in a top 15 had he been from a big-time state.
And he's a little quiet, you think? He's going to have to become a little louder?
Yeah, I talked to Brandon White, his head coach in high school, and he said that's the one thing he's going to have to really work on. We've been working on it. He's gotten better, but he's going to have to get even better to be a vocal leader at the next level. He's a little bit of a perfectionist, so he's hard on himself, but he's going to have to really work on those two things before he can play in the Big Ten.
And as we mentioned earlier, Josh Heupel, you go back 20 years, came out of Aberdeen, ended up at Oklahoma. He started out at Weber State, ended up at Oklahoma, and was a Heisman runner-up. But Knuth coming right out, going to Minnesota. This is huge for South Dakota in the last 2 decades.
Yeah, I've covered high school football the last 20 years in South Dakota. I've never come across a prospect quite like this. There have been some big-time quarterbacks, but they've gone to SDSU or FCS programs. This is the first time we've had a Big Ten prospect in South Dakota.
And he's fun to watch, man.
He is fun.
All right, appreciate it, Jason.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Build Your Base with Beef Sports Nutrition and Training Program.